Consequences. If some of these behaviors we find ourselves involved in, what can happen as a result? Number one, financial loss. Over and over and over again, adults in our world are losing their jobs because of inappropriate sexual activity in the workplace. Was loosely involved in a situation several months back where an individual, high six-figure salary, got to work one day. People had found out at his work what he had been doing on the internet. His position that day was gone. You have a few minutes, go clean your office out the door. We have a zero tolerance policy in our company. And most of the adult males that I've had opportunity to interact with, either just in recovery circles or on a clinical scale, most have had some type of financial loss, including one individual who kept a totally separate life, kept a condominium going, even went through a faux wedding just because his affair partner wanted all these things, and a great amount of money spent on the sexual addiction. Damaged, broken relationships. That can be a relationship as in a marriage, a spouse. Our marriage is over because of one spouse or the other engaging in sexual behavior. It can be a broken relationship between teens and a parent. Frequently, that's initially what kind of brings people in looking for help, is some explosion or crisis has happened in the family because of somebody's sexual behavior. Damaged reputation. Word gets out. Somebody finds out. And because of that, now I have, people look at me and they assume certain things, or they just naturally conclude, well, because of what they've heard I do, they assume I'm willing to do that with them also. Disease, infertility, not even to get into all the STDs and HIV, certainly infertility, HPV virus, very common issue in infertility. And HPV, many people have and they don't realize it, so they go through late adolescence, through college years, have no idea they have the virus, and then get married, and a couple years into marriage are trying to have children, and whoa, we can't have children, what's wrong? And then find out, oh, I'm not fertile because I've been walking around with HPV for the last several years, and all of a sudden now I can't have children. Terrible consequence to find out way after the fact, but it is a consequence oftentimes in sexual behavior. Loss of job. The list kind of goes on. Legal problems, jail. I mentioned Tony's situation. Very easily could have ended up in jail. Many of the people that I've worked with through the years have either been threatened with jail time or have experienced jail time. Destroyed family relationships. Had a 16-year-old girl. Been several years involved in sexual activity. Had a younger brother. A younger brother had a friend spend the night with him. In the middle of the night, she wakes up, goes and wakes up the younger friend, says, this is what I want to do. So they go and they do their stuff. Well, the younger brother, a few weeks later, finds out what happened, and it totally destroyed their relationship. And for several years after, as far as I know, even today, there is basically no relationship between the two of them as siblings because of the hurt he experienced over what she did, how he sees what she did to his friend who was several years younger than her. Loss of sexual interest in partner. Very common for adults who are married and one or the other spouse is involved in internet pornography or compulsive masturbation, sexual fantasy, internet exchanges sexually, to just have no interest anymore in my spouse. It may be months and months and months, and we go. Know some couples who have not had sex in years because one spouse or the other just has no interest anymore because they're satisfying that need or attempting to satisfy it constantly with sex outside of their marriage relationship. And finally, and perhaps the biggest issue for Christians, is the barrier that it creates between us and God. In other words, because of my sexual behavior, because of what I'm doing, I feel so guilty. And I know deep down inside, I know God is not pleased with what I'm doing. I just can't be in his presence. To try to go to God in prayer is so embarrassing because I've asked God so many times to forgive me of this, and I keep doing the same thing. I just can't stand to just have quiet time and be aware of God because of the guilt and the shame that brings to me because of my sexual behavior.